to have been, then you find out some people feeling there's no need to waste resources and waste time to pursue a case in court. So for that reason, you see a sharp decline in the number of petitions. So that clearly shows you the confidence in the process by the stakeholders, especially the political parties and the candidates. But secondly, you wonder, there are so many cancellations in 2015, that is not notifications, 81 of them specifically, and you wonder, does that mean that the elections were not as well conducted as we thought? And the answer is no, quite clearly. Though it's on surface, it looks as though it looks that way because the number of nullifications are significantly higher, 81, than 20 in 2007 and 34 in 2011. But just as Barrister Uzi said earlier, it's very clear that technology is the difference. You see, in the past, once you rig an election, it's very difficult for you to prove. Because if you ask them to bring the ballots and it can prove that it has been thumb-printed and the accreditation register shows that they have ticked it, then there's really nowhere to prove that maybe the thumb-printing was done in somebody's house or, But the card reader has eliminated this, as has been said earlier. So the technology component has actually made it more difficult to rig an election and go free. So somebody might feel that he can use stocks and stuff ballots or force a polling officer to issue a particular result at duress or under threat to life, and eventually if results get to court, because they must be proved, the condition for proving them is much more difficult with the card reader because it's evidence-based and it's scientific, it's technological. It becomes very difficult to uphold. And for that reason, such people will find themselves on the losing end in court. So it's very clear that the key issue here is technology is exposing. So those who rig elections will still lose out in the court because there's empirical solution and evidence to ensure that they don't get away with what they have done. That doesn't mean that the elections are not as well conducted.
Okay, interesting, Mr. Ajijala. We take a moment on the program. Mr. Oluwole Ozazi from, is the head of INEX, is the director of INEX Voter Education and Publicity, and of course, Mr. Abiodun Ajijala. Both of them are still going to stay with us. When we come back, we'll look at the possibility of improving on all this process in INEC as we look forward to a possible election in Rivers State, Akwa Ibom State, and of course, governorship election in Ondo, Edo State later in the year. Don't go away. Stay with us.
Every day you invite us to your home. Now, we invite you to our homepage. Join Channels Television on social media. Hang out with us on Google Plus/Channels Television. Follow us on Twitter at Channels TV. Friend us on Facebook.com/Channels Forum. And don't forget to like our page. That's not all. Subscribe to our YouTube channels, youtube.com/Channels Web. To get constant video updates and news and events in Nigeria and around the world. ChannelsTV.com. The news at your fingertips.
Thank you for staying with us on your weekly edition of Politics Today on Channels Television. Of course, we've been talking about election petitions and, daily edition of Politics Today on Channels Television. Of course, Sunday edition is always there as our flagship on Politics Today. Well, we've been talking about election annulment in Nigeria. What are the reasons behind it? We're looking forward to some other elections in the year. The Director of Voter Education and Publicity at INEC, Mr. Oluwole Ozazi, who is with us, and of course, an election observer, coordinator of Election Monitor, Abiodun Ajijala, is with us here from Akure. He's been talking to us on this matter. Let me quickly go to Mr. Ozazi Uzi. If you look at, let me quickly show you a percentage of election nullifications from 2007, 2011, and 2015 quickly, so we make a sense of it. The percentage goes like this: 1.6% of election in 2007 were nullified, and 4.6% of election in 2011 were nullified, and 15.7% of election in 2015 were nullified. You heard what Mr. Ajijola told us here on the program. Do you agree with what he said, that we've seen some level of improvement, but if that is happening, should we be seeing more nullified elections in that sense, if there is confidence from stakeholders and political parties?
Well, not necessarily so. Election petitions are the dispute resolution mechanism introduced by the law. People must have confidence in a system. And apart from the fact that I think elections have been, the conduct of elections have been improved, I think the judiciary as well must be commended for this. They've also tended to move away from technicalities and look at things. Don't forget also that, in one sense, INEC, you can say, is responsible for the high number of annulments. Why do I say so? It is INEC that has produced the basis, because they have produced the printout from the card reader, smart card reader. INEC introduced the technology. For many people, photos, I say it's not lawful, it's not legal, but fortunately there's a validation of our position from the court judgments. And we said, look, we must build confidence in the process. And if people cannot trust INEC, trust institutions of government, trust the judiciary, then democracy is on shaky foundations. Trust is essential, that the people's votes must count. That's why the commission looked at it and said, look, whatever happens, we produce not only the registers as were given to us by ad hoc staff, we also produce the printouts from the ones derived from the technological perspective. So, looking at this and saying, tribunal, these are all the facts. You now decide the law based on the facts as presented by you. I think after now, politicians will realize that, look, the time or the days of writing results, the days of stuffing ballot boxes, the days of forging results and things like that are long gone. Technology and the methodology adopted will expose those things. It may not happen on the field, but subsequently it will happen. And then they realize that you must go to campaign, you must be accepted by the people, and the people's decision will be reflected and must be held sacrosanct.
All right, Mr. Osaze-Uzi, let me quickly take a reaction from a viewer who is reaching us via Twitter. Is at Marcolman13, at Marcolman13 on Twitter. He said, the card reader is inferior. I voted manually. That is a viewer there. A lot of people do so too, voting manually. Does this discredit the card reader in any sense?
Done manually. Let's correct that impression. The card reader is not used to vote. It's not a voting machine. It is used to accredit. You know, it's used to accredit. And even where the card reader does not read your biometrics, you will still be allowed to vote. The card reader reads not just those who were accredited by it, but also those who everybody who presented their PVC. So where it doesn't read you, it will tell it, the system, it will say so, and it will send to the server that, look, 10 people turned up, it read 8 or 9 people, but 1 or 2 people were not read. So we'll look at that. Well, we know that 10 people voted, 10 people were accredited. It is used for accreditation, not for voting.
All right.
For now, you cannot use technology to vote, to cast your vote.
All right. Of course, I know a lot of viewers here are itching to be part of a program here. Of course, our Twitter handles are there at CTV Politics, and of course, our email is politicstoday@channelstv.com. Of course, let me go to Mr. Ajijola. You have been in several elections. Of course, I've met you on the field several times. Tell me, there are a lot of manual accreditation that takes place, and as Mr. Osaze-Uzi says, that it looks so much like the days for ballot stuffing and rigging is over in Nigeria election. Do you think so?
Well, I agree, and this is the reason. But before I go into that, I just want to make a quick clarification. Part of what we have on the field that some viewers may be calling manual accreditation, it may not actually be manual accreditation. If, for example, you get to the polling unit and you present your PVC and it is authenticated, but because your fingerprint the machine has issue with reading your fingerprint, you are asked to fill out an incident form. That is not manual accreditation. So it's important for viewers to, get that, because some people feel that because they filled an incident form, they feel that that was manual accreditation. Manual accreditation is when you don't use the card reader at all. You present your card and they tick your name into the register, and then they just ask you to go and you are accredited. That is manual accreditation. It bypasses the card reader. And with the INEC guidelines on usage of card readers, it's very clear that any polling unit that manual accreditation occurs will be cancelled. Like the last Kogi election, we had several polling units where there was manual accreditation, and every one of them were cancelled. Even at the collation center, state collation center, every time a local government returning officer brought the summary of cancellations, they would explain in this particular polling unit.
We have to leave it at. I'm sorry, we have to leave it at that, Mr. Ajijola. We are out of time. Thank you so much. Mr. Oluwale Osaze, thank you so much for being a part of the program. He's the Director of Voter Education and Publicity at INEC. Well, of course, Mr. Biodun Ajijola, an election observer, the coordinator of Election Monitor, talking to us from Akure, the capital of Ondo State. Well, thank you so much for being part of the program today. Well, till tomorrow, same time. My name is Sean Okimali. On behalf of the team, I say bye for now.